Nah, that shit's done. We're not doing that anymore.
Not doing what? Stop being so structured. Give the people what they want.
Don't tell me what to do.
Okay.
You're not my mom.
Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
I would like to welcome you to the Greatest Show on Podcast. I'm your host, Lee.
What else?
AKA Southside Lee on IG.
What else?
And I'm joined by my partner in pod.
Yes! Earlington Agustas the Great.
AKA.
Your baby mama's baby daddy.
AKA.
Your mama's favorite.
AKA.
Deep Soft. And we are
3ThePodWay. Chumps.
Your success took a shot at it. What are you gonna do now? How are you gonna kill it? You gonna become unsuccessful?
You goddamn right. A wise woman once said, I'm speaking. Deal with it. Let's give it up for him.
reclaiming your time, huh? You reclaiming your time?
That was a long intro.
Yikes.
Reclaiming your time, huh?
Yeah, man. Hey,
Okay.
It was
Hey, listen, I've learned my lesson, right?
What was that?
This is episode 3.
Is it?
I'm gonna do things in their right order.
Respective order.
Right.
Okay.
We're gonna do it in their right order. So, sir, please introduce yourself.
Introduce yourself.
Get that. Hey, welcome to 3ThePodWay.
Yeah.
It's Sesly Bwoi, aka the voice. What's up?
Let's give it up for him. So we've also noticed that we've been missing an element, a energy, if you will.
Okay.
And we sat back and we tried to figure it out.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'm pretending I'm with you. Yeah. Hell yeah. Woo. Give it up for him.
And lo and behold, it was in front of us the entire time.
Was it?
Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is where you speak. This is
my
the
part?
moment. Yeah.
Hey y'all, I'm Nacie.
Hey y'all.
Let's give it up for her.
AKA.
It's my first show.
AKA.
The mama.
AKA. Baltimore Barbie. AKA.
Hey, baby.
Don't be doing all that.
AKA.
Is that
Titties
too
and no
much?
ass.
Okay,
Is that too much gas?
That's too much.
That's too much gas.
family
Hey,
show.
hey, let's make sure we do it properly. Let's give it up for her.
Welcome.
For some reason, I just have a feeling like this is going to be one of those ones, as they say.
This is going to be a good one.
So, also keeping in mind, let's get a word from our sponsor.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
Follow 3ThePodWay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chumps.
Sounds so beautiful, don't you agree?
Gotta let it baby.
So we're gonna do this differently. I normally would ask Earl how his week has been,
And
but
no one cares.
With guests,
No one ever seems to care.
let's start with you. How has your week been?
This week has been crazy.
Talk
For
us
me
through that.
personally.
How so?
What's that mean?
I don't know.
At a high level, like 10,000 foot level. Like, let's not bore the viewers and the listeners.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I mean,
Above
it's
the
just
clouds.
been it's been a crazy week,
Okay.
personally and professionally, but a good positive. Yesterday was my Founders Day.
Hey,
Shout out to all the Divas, Delta
congrats.
Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Let's give it up for that.
Shout them out.
Gang. All right.
Throw 'em up.
Gang.
Very
That was the
appropriate.
highlight of my week.
All right. Very well. Sir, how about yourself?
My week has been pretty chill, man. Just been working, and more working.
Yeah, I noticed that your voice is hitting a different like octave level.
How you mad?
That's,
Your voice don't get that
Is that
deep?
the work? Is that the
Yeah,
work
that's
song?
the
I don't know what just happened.
like the State
Yeah.
Farm dude, right?
Yeah, that-
Like
What's wrong with my voice?
No, it's not State
Like the
Farm.
late
All
night.
State.
Oh, the Allstate guy. My bad.
Yeah,
Not Jake, the other guy.
If you
Yeah.
drive safe.
Right. It's real quiet
Yeah.
storm mess. You know what I mean?
Quiet storm.
Right. We don't
Yeah, I
need
was
that
just
right
wondering
Sesly
about
boy
that.
after
now.
hours.
Hey,
Boy.
Sesly.
After hours.
Sesly.
So I noticed that we're keeping with the theme.
Pink.
Well,
I support women. Now what?
Hey.
Go ahead. Take that.
how's your week been?
He done that one.
Did I? Ha! Shut it down.
That's Mayweather with the defense right there.
Right. Bwoi. It's been, rather supportive of my queens. You know what I'm saying? Support my women. You know what I'm saying? My sisters. Shout out to all the women in Greek life that are celebrating. What's it called?
Their Founders Day.
Their Founders Day. Support. There
But you
we
mean
go.
specifically?
While you do what you do, I'm supporting all of them. Okay.
Not with that shirt you ain't.
In support of your support, let's give it up for him.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
So is anybody gonna ask me?
No one cares. Like, this is the worst part of the show. Like,
Lee, how
we're
was your
literally
week?
asking.
There you
Okay,
go.
yeah, tell
How was your
us.
week,
How was your week?
Well, since you asked, I appreciate
Look
it.
at you all happy. He's giddy, dog.
No, I mean I'm just saying, like 18 national championships.
Oh my god.
That's
Here
you
he
been
go.
setting this up.
We don't
That's
wanna-
what he's doing.
I mean, we don't have to talk
I
about
see what you
it.
did. I see what you did.
I mean,
Was
we
that
don't-
a Washington football team jersey?
We don't have to discuss it.
It's cool.
Hey, L, what camera I'm on? I mean, we don't have to discuss it.
Yo, the thing is, I've known this guy
No
for
comment.
X amount of years, and until
Never.
today,
He just
he's
got that joint
never
yesterday.
had a personalized.
And you said that
jersey.
one's too crispy?
Right,
You said that one's too crispy to
the
be?
Lee on it is like small, so it look like he taped the joint on himself. You know what I mean? It doesn't align with the rest of the
It's
jersey.
too
He got a
crispy to
t-shirt
be
press in the
pre-owned
back.
is what
Right.
you're
Hey,
saying.
listen.
Okay,
Hey,
okay.
haters
It's
going.
pre-owned.
Hey, look, haters gonna hate, right?
Nah, that's cool. I'm happy
Haters
for y'all.
gonna
Man.
hate.
Congrats.
So we have the Heisman Trophy winner.
He's a dog, by
Yeah,
the way.
yeah.
He's a
Okay.
dog, son.
Congrats to that young man.
Yeah.
Actually, let's support him.
And we also have again our 18th national championship. So,
Okay. Word.
something slight.
Something slight.
Yeah, something slight.
Slight flex.
Did your coach win the Presidential Medal of Honor? Just asking out of curiosity.
I don't believe so. Yeah, I know Belichick was up for that award, and he eloquently turned that down. Yeah, there seems to be a little activity down at
I was asking.
down at the White House these days.
Little noise.
Yeah, that's it. I don't
Yeah.
want to talk
All
about
right.
that
Cool.
anymore.
So we wanted to address a few things. So our recap episode, we had a few comments. We had a few comments because there were some viewers that interjected some entries that we didn't necessarily put light on. Right.
We had a few.
So we had Tim Stokely offered up.
Okay, man. Government.
Oh,
Old
government,
Joe.
dog. You know his middle name?
His name is on the
You know his
comments.
Nah,
What if that was a street name or something?
Well, it's still going to be his name because it's on YouTube under the comments. It is what it is.
Maybe we should start doing first name, last initial.
Yeah, TS, Terror Squad.
No, we could do Tim S.
No, excuse me. Literally,
Tim
on YouTube, it says
That's his
Tim
name.
Stokely.
That's his name.
what it
Okay,
says.
okay.
His mama name him Tim. I'm gonna call him Tim. That's how it go. So he offered up Freddie Gibbs,
Hey,
and
lyricist.
I can't argue that Freddie
Lyricist.
Gibbs, from a seemingly underground standpoint, because he kind of fits into a certain mold. He's put out potentially 2 to 3 classics. Actually,
Yeah.
Wait. Can we back up a minute?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Remind our awesome
Yeah, that's
viewers
good. See, man, she good, man.
what
Go
we're
ahead,
on right now before we
Tell them what the
What we're
tell them what
talking
the
about.
recap
Yes, sir.
episode was about.
Yeah, so the recap episode was where we basically took 2020 and we created categories and we did a top 3.
Okay.
And one of those was top 3 albums of 2020.
Gotcha.
And depending upon what level of or what genre you're into, that could be different. Which again led Tim to bring up Freddie Gibbs.
Okay.
And then we had the Purpose 87 offered up Janae Aiko, which I agree. Chilombo,
Stoner music.
I believe that's how you pronounce it. Chilombo was actually a great album too.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Right. So like I said, I just kind of wanted to shed a little light on those. Did anybody have a late entry to the game?
I got some personal text, some slander. Like a lot of the lyricists, right? So Busta Rhymes, Extinction Level 2, my man Blue Robin. He also hit me with I don't even know why I'm saying this. I'm almost disappointed in myself. Logic.
Ooh.
I don't.
Why? So you disappointed.
I don't think.
What was the
Logic is,
argument? The person who
shout out
said
to
He was
What
saying
was
like,
the argument?
he's a spitter, like he's a
He has
lyricist.
bars, bro.
Yeah, but you didn't even you fighting for him because
Oh,
he's
here
from
he
your
goes.
state.
Nah,
You didn't even
okay.
think about him.
Here we go.
Now
All
you
right,
mad?
Freeway.
Now we're arguing.
All right.
Now we're arguing.
Let's go.
Okay.
Because he wasn't brought up in the beginning.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And now he's mad that I didn't think about him, but he didn't either.
Did
And then we had.
did anybody throw basics in the list?
But you would co-sign.
Why do you feel that?
I'm not feeling no.
No,
type
I'm
of, I'm
asking
co-signing with you. I'm saying he's a lyricist.
Wait
He
a
has
minute,
bars.
wait a minute, gentlemen.
Whoa,
Wait a minute. I don't think.
everybody's
Hold on. Wait a minute.
beautiful.
Wait a minute. I don't think y'all caught that. Could you repeat that?
I was just asking, did any of the viewers throw basics on the list?
Because
Nah,
that
he-
album.
yeah.
Wait a minute.
Damn.
That album did come out in 2020.
Yeah.
You know,
And then
they
he
How
top five.
disrespectful!
tried
They-
to drop it low key.
How disrespectful are we
Listeners,
that we
they-
did not acknowledge the GOAT?
There's some heat on there.
Basics himself.
Hey, hey, what's the
James
hey,
St. Patrick.
It's a hot bar on it. What
Wait
was
a
that song?
minute. Hey,
Just
what's the
one
name
bar.
of that album? Give it to him.
What is the name of his? Walk Before You Run. That's the name.
Walk
of his
Before You
album.
Run
Yeah,
by
that
Bass.
joint
Let's
go.
give it up for him.
Yeah, that joint go.
Honorable mention for sure. How did we miss that?
Y'all done?
I'll tell you how we missed it.
Hey, let me break it down in layman's terms.
Hey, listen. Basics was arguing who he should do a versus against, and out of being funny, he said Mims, and I was like, nah, Mims will wash you.
Mims will wash
I was
you.
like, Mims will wash you.
Damn.
So then he tried to be slick and was like Trinidad James. I said, nah.
Trini got bars, too.
Yeah, Trinidad James will wash you.
Damn.
I said there is. I think there's one. I think there's only one.
Hey.
I think there's one person. There's only one that can match
we're
against
waiting.
Basics.
We're listening.
Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon got hits though. Y'all hating on Nick Cannon.
Well, you forget we're not playing R. Kelly records anymore. So if you take away the R. Kelly records, if we're not playing the R. Kelly records,
My
got a
man
lot
Basics
of dough.
is way better than Nick Cannon.
so
My
you,
man Basics
you
is
take-
way better than Nick Cannon.
Okay, I'll tell
Did
you what.
hear some of the
Okay,
heat
no,
off
no,
the
no.
last album?
Listen, this is easy.
We won't waste time and drop it.
Next episode,
Okay.
They gonna put.
we're gonna
We gotta
pull
play
up.
one.
We're
That's
gonna
gonna be
pull
the
up
intro.
Basics,
That's gonna be the
and
intro.
we're gonna pull up some Nick Cannon,
We definitely-
and we're gonna do.
That's our versus
And
battle?
we will let the fans decide.
All right, that's gonna be.
We're
hot.
gonna let Tim Stokely decide.
We'll decide.
Yo, I heard some of the new heat. I wrote it down on a napkin. It was so good.
That's good.
No,
So
hey,
good.
hey, but look, in all seriousness though, I want to publicly say that it took a lot of courage for you to do that. You should be proud of yourself. Like I say, all jokes aside, I actually think it's a great album.
Yes.
I've listened to it multiple times. So again, man, congratulations on actually
sweet.
seeing your vision.
Congrats to that guy, Basics, man.
Man,
Yeah.
it's been a lot of hand claps.
I wish I knew him.
It's too much. Too
We
much.
gotta give so
too
much love for
applause.
2020
We gotta.
'cause it was so
Yo, we need a
trash.
boo button, yo.
It was so trash.
We need a boo button.
We need a what?
A boo button, like boo.
Oh, okay.
'Cause It's too
All right.
much. It's too much.
Too many claps. We got to balance it
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
All right, I can dig it.
Not
Too much good
love
energy.
in one episode.
I'm about to say, you don't.
So
Was there any other pushback
right?
from the list?
Was there any other pushback? That was most notably.
Yeah,
our
music seemed
musical
to
choices. Yeah.
always stir up the pot. There was a few other comments, but a lot of people had the same alternate entries, right? Like
Right.
I had a few. Freddie Gibbs hit me. A few. What's the Griselda dudes?
You got Benny the Butcher. You got
heard
West
about
Side
the
Gun, and you
Benny
got
the Butcher,
Conway. Yeah.
I don't know which one it was. I don't.
Artist Benny.
Yeah, it might have
Man
been
hit-
Benny
yeah.
the Butcher. Yeah,
Yeah,
not the
hit
guy with the like kind of squeaky voice. Not him.
So that's West Side Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other
Now I
one.
will say, from a feature standpoint, now we might be doing a slight deep dive, but from a feature standpoint, Conway had a lot of great verses.
Okay.
Over the course of the year, he has a verse on T.I.'s album that is completely different from the Griselda sound.
Okay.
That, if you're into it and you're interested, that would be something to look into. I think everybody pretty much fell in line with the shoes.
Okay.
If you, it's one of those.
If you're
If you know,
into it,
you
if
know.
you know, you know,
If it's
right.
something you're into, then that'll be something that you would be drawn to. Jasmine Sullivan just put out an album.
Fire.
Talk about it.
Fire.
Talk about
Hotels, right?
I mean, I just
it. Yeah.
like that's one of those albums that you can listen to from start to finish without skipping a track.
So, question: where does Jasmine Sullivan, because of her, let's call it lack of activity, not because the material isn't good, but because she just doesn't put out
Enough
a lot of
material.
music, right? Where does she fall in the R&B landscape at this point? Because you have her, you have Janae.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So where does she fall currently in today's R&B landscape? To you,
I give much respect to Janae, but Jasmine Sullivan is more my speed and my
Yeah.
time. So I don't care how long I gotta wait. Just like I'm waiting on another Adele album. I wonder how long
Okay.
I have
I'm
to
a Adele
wait.
fan as well.
I mean, some of those, any album that you can listen to from start to finish without skipping. And
So you vouch for that album being playable beginning to end.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to actually listen to it, so I mean, with that cosign, I mean, yeah, I definitely would.
I only had to hear one song.
What do you compare that to? What's it comparable to? In terms of,
Because all female artists, for the most part, right, are compared to Lauryn Hill. That's like the
Well, if
gold
you- if
standard.
you
Well,
rapping, yeah.
the
Well, yeah,
one,
she did the
the
singing
one
too.
album,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
is
exactly.
Lauryn Hill's the
Miseducation.
miseducation,
Miseducation.
right? So, do you do that? Do you think you find yourself doing that, or does everybody kind of get their fair shake as to whatever they're presenting?
Yeah, I don't too much compare because I think different times, different classes, like different genres of music. I think different things for different times. I was in a different place when that album came out, so
Right.
it meant something different at that time.
right.
Makes sense.
But I think the different flows, the different tones, the different octaves. I mean, there are so many songstress of our time. To hear some that are just truly soulful, like it doesn't matter what Jasmine Sullivan says out of her mouth.
Right. And where I was going with that is that I feel like at a point, and not even, I mean, granted, we're talking about music, but I just think across the board from a cultural standpoint, in a weird way, we began to lack appreciation of artistry because there was so much just being, once Instagram hit, it was it's like constantly being promoted to. And somebody has a song or somebody has a hook that's catchy. And it's like every week is something new.
Yeah, you can
to
be put on by that one thing. Yeah,
Right. To where now, and it can even, if it's so much of it, it can smother what we consider potentially true artistry.
right.
So to be able to, what we used to call live with an album, where an album would come out and you would live with that album for the summer, to where now when you hear it, it takes you right back to that moment. And I feel like we're slowly, but we're getting back to that.
Maybe
With certain artists, right? I think when they drop, and I think for you, it kind of seemed like Jasmine Sullivan is one of those artists,
She
right?
takes me to a place.
Right. And now she's delivering you a new place
Yes.
with this new album. So that's kind of dope.
that's interesting. You said that. I know we kind of diving deep on the music stuff, but we're here now. I'm thinking, I feel that way for Miguel. I'm anticipating like a Miguel album, something he hasn't dropped in a few years or whatever. So
Yeah. Well, okay, since we're doing that, Usher, this Confessions 3 album has kind of been floating out there for a while, right?
What does that mean?
what was that?
What is that?
Yeah.
You not ready for it?
What was that?
You have some confessions you want to make,
Not a fan.
You're not a fan of Usher or the Confessions?
or you're not a fan of herpes. Sorry, I took it.
All three.
Yikes! My bad. That's
Wow.
I always do.
So,
I always
I'm
do
gonna
that.
sit
I'm
this
sorry.
year.
You're not anticipating that album. Okay. Is anybody else anticipating that album? And I only said that because you mentioned Miguel, and this Confessions album has been like kind of lingering
And
for.
I feel like that
Usher's a
Miguel
dog,
kind
man.
of fell
Usher's-
flat. Y'all wasn't with me on that.
Yeah,
Nah, I can't support that.
no, unfortunately.
I was on my own. Everybody's like, that's cool.
Hey, man.
support
Usher
that.
is an icon.
Listen to that?
Man.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Usher's an icon. Man.
Usher been doing that job for
He's been doing it
years,
at a high
bro.
level for way
Decades.
too long.
And kept it consistent too.
Yeah.
You
So
can't-
okay, so that actually brings us roundabout to our general topic, right?
Oh wait! Shout out to the Usher fans.
Yeah. Shout out to the Usher fans.
And everybody that got herpes that's living their life with Valtrex. Nah, real talk, because that's it's a thing.
Hey, it's a thing.
So you don't want to alienate any of our listeners or viewers.
Respect.
Yeah.
So with that talk, right? Black history.
I'm just being clear.
Black history at this
I'm
point,
sorry.
right?
I've been drinking a little bit.
I thought about this and I said, okay, February is Black History Month. All right.
Sir.
And with that, it got me to thinking. Black history for me growing up was, I guess I want to call it typical, but I'm trying to stay away from that. But it was typical, right? It was your Dr. Martin Luther King.
Right.
It was your Rosa Parks. It was your George Washington Carver. So I'm going to tell you something interesting about growing up in Alabama, what they used to do. And this is how when you get older, you look back on it, you like, man, that could mess with a kid's psyche. So what they did every February was they played Roots to start our day. And when I say played Roots,
In K through 12?
when I say played Roots, you went into your homeroom class and they played an episode of Roots every day. Now, when you're a child, you don't think much of that, right? But now that I'm older and I look back on that, think about how mentally altering something like that could be, right? You go into class and now you're dealing with these classmates. You could develop a subservient attitude and mindset just from that.
So there wasn't any context given, is what you're saying.
Well, because it was Black History Month, and that's the
It was a staple
film that they
Black
chose.
History movie.
Now, which
History.
years are these? Like, which grade are you saying? Like, is this elementary?
This is
middle school.
It was elementary.
High school?
It was elementary and a year of middle school. Yeah.
Okay.
That
They
this
showing
occurred.
your roots in.
You know what? In
12,
some
11 years
aspects, I
old.
want to, hand clap that school district because there are so many school districts that weren't doing anything.
Right.
And while I think we all know how damning Roots can be to anyone's psyche, I mean,
Right.
even as an adult now, watching it and the types of emotions that it brings up,
Right.
it almost just makes me want to say, shout out to them for, attempting to apply something else besides.
I don't know.
That's a slippery slope because
it is.
I'll tell you another reason why I feel that way is because every time, well, it's almost annually. It's not recently, but let's say 5 years ago, every year on schedule there was a slave movie.
Well, yeah,
Or
for
a
sure.
type of slave
12
movie.
Years a Slave.
And it's like, no disrespect, but it's like,
I don't want to see the
I
film
got it.
anymore.
Nat
Yeah.
Turner
I got
story,
it, right?
right,
Like, unless you're showing me like overcoming, and that's the majority of the film, I don't need you retelling that same initial story over and over again.
I agree.
So that begs the question: what is Black history now?
Yeah, that's what I was going to. So before you go there, like, what was I guess your region, right? Regions may be different, right? He's talking from the South. I never had that experience in going to schools in Philadelphia, right? Like, we did have the standard, Rosa Parks, MLK, but they threw some curveballs in there. We had like a Shirley Chisholm,
Okay,
and we had
Shout out to my soror.
yeah, and we had your man Ben Carson as well, because he was the first
had
like
mentioned
black
that, right?
doctor that did the was it open heart surgery?
Open heart surgery.
Right. So we had a little bit of a curveball. So this is like a northeastern perspective. How about you? Where were you in school? And how was that? Like, what was that month like?
So raised in the West Coast. I'm originally born in Maryland, but raised in Washington State. My elementary school days was typical, Rosa Parks, MLK. But in high school, and I'll say even in middle school, I honestly kind of want to say we kind of scoped over it. I remember doing one Black History Month report.
right.
And I don't remember who I did it on, but I remember that in middle school. But in high school, almost nothing. I mean, we didn't read books in regards to Black history. We never read any Black authors. If it wasn't for my parents and educating me and like making me come home and like read books or having to watch Roots.
Right.
But there was always context given. So there would be, obviously the slave boat scenes, the chain scenes. Like, my parents would literally pause the movie. I can remember, I'm an only child. And they would be giving context to what I was getting ready to see or what I was getting ready to watch. And then we would always have conversations after.
That's heavy.
I mean, I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, I don't know if that's how I'm going to ease this into, my children's education. But thinking, outside of the box, there was no other way that I was going to get that.
Right. Not to the degree in which it was, again, educational and you're getting the context and the lesson from it.
Right.
Did anybody else have anything before we get into, like, I guess the question being, what is Black history now? Right. I know what sticks out obviously is Obama, right? Obama being the first Black president obviously sticks out to a lot of people. Is there anything else? Obviously now, right? Kamala Harris.
Right.
Yeah, definitely stands out. But let me ask, Puff.
Puff Daddy?
Puff Daddy. Sean
Diddy Combs?
Diddy Combs.
Okay.
Okay.
Could you argue that
Are you
Puff
arguing
Daddy?
this?
I'm asking. Could you argue that Puff Daddy is a part of Black history now? Could you argue that?
No doubt.
Yeah. I give him that.
You seem hesitant.
It's a slippery slope, right?
But why? What's the slippery slope?
All right, so Black history.
when again, right, thinking about the names that we said previously, right?
Right.
The MLKs, the Rosa Parks, right? Even to the extent, right, if we're going in the entertainment field, there was the Michael Jordans, Michael Jacksons were on that list.
Right.
And then like a Oprah, right?
Right.
And
even James Brown prior to.
Yeah. I think they were trying to, be current, be with the times. So I guess
So with y'all speaking towards
Diddy is on the list.
Diddy, then this is
probably,
what
impact has
that's
he
what I'm
made,
saying. This is probably ignorant, not necessarily ignorance, but I don't know anything on a monumental scale like with all those names that you just dropped.
Right.
What has Diddy done?
Well, I think there's something to be said for.
Granted, where he's come from and what he's done. Yes, that's a monumental leap for him. Yes, and to show that an African American man can get to that plateau.
Right.
Great. Kudos. I'm not saying not knocking it at all, but I'm just like playing not necessarily devil's advocate, but just asking what has he done to become part of Black history.
Right.
Well, like I said, so depending upon when you grew up, there's a lot of us that aspire to do what Puff has done. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, maybe not in that specific genre, but we want to be as successful, as diverse as Puff, right?
I think Puff is our generation's Motown.
Right.
Think about what
exactly.
he helped, think about what he created for us in the realm of entertainment, but in regards to music that we would not have without him.
So I'll tell you how I potentially could answer that question, right? Let's remove Puff. Let's say Puff didn't exist.
Talk stats.
No. Let's remove Puff and say Puff didn't exist. Imagine with your come up without Puff's influence. You see what I'm saying?
No Kim, no Biggie.
It'd be one-sided.
So culturally, like he
would still have a impact.
Nah, man, Puff. You remove Puff from our era. That's a big gap, man.
I guess when I think
you're talking about no Big.
That's what I'm saying.
No Mace.
Kim,
no Kim. There's a lot. So like I say, I'm not arguing. I'm just giving the other argument.
I think all right. So here's I think first off, I think those talents, some of them could have stood on their own. Right.
Yes.
I'll say that.
Okay.
I'll give them that. I'm not gonna just take away their talent 100%. But when I think of putting him in the category of those individuals that we've named, yes, I think he's done a lot for the culture. I think those accolades are like one of one or the first of many, right? No shot at Puff. I don't think I don't know if he's the first or the most successful record label exec that's Black. You know what I'm saying? Like when I think of Obama, he's the first Black president. Like
I see where you're going.
Ben Carson did the first open heart surgery, right? Like Martin Luther King he wasn't the first, but he was the most well known at the time political figure.
Because when you put Quincy Jones on that level, though,
yeah, because then
Quincy was.
Well,
you can argue. You can open it.
Generations
was the Quincy Jones of our time.
I got you.
But then we never said Quincy Jones. Then so we would have to give Quincy Jones his due. You know what I mean?
Well, let's also keep in mind, no list is going to be
for sure
complete, right? It's not going to be all inclusive of every single thing. And then remember, the other question that I posed was, there is let's call it the front facing list of what people would say Black history is, but then there's a cultural list, i.e., just to draw a little parallel, when we talk about music, I could give you commercial all day, but there's an underground too.
Right.
So we can talk about the prominent figures within government, within medicine, etc. That I don't think that lessens what somebody like Puff or like a Spike Lee,
for sure.
You know, Issa Rae at this point.
I can argue a Spike
You know,
Lee,
like when you
for
start
sure.
talking about so a director that is, you know, creating narratives around Black culture, and they've elevated the culture.
Key and Peele,
yeah, exactly. Dave Chappelle,
Chadwick.
you know, right? So is Dave Chappelle part of Black history at this point?
Chadwick
I mean, I
Boseman
think
did, too.
everybody plays a role into Black history, right? But
Right.
the role that they play in terms of being in the education system potentially, right? Or like being the person that we tell these stories to our children. Not just Puff, but I know y'all said a lot, and I heard Chadwick.
Right.
I mean, I have an argument for everyone, right? Like,
you gonna tell him about Beyonce though?
yeah, well, Beyonce is.
She goes by one.
She
name.
goes by Beyonce. You
Right,
can't even argue
right.
that. There's nothing you can say about that.
Right.
But yeah, like even like a Chadwick Boseman, right? I understand the impact he has on the culture currently, but I don't. He's never won what we would call the gold standard in acting, right? Has he won an Academy Award?
Or EGOT.
Right. So
Or, you know what I mean. So those are the things that are gonna put
so in
him
that
in
line-
a history book. You know
yeah.
what I
So
mean?
in that line, Denzel had came up.
Exactly right. He
Denzel
would be
came
somebody.
up, right.
Him and Halle Berry, like no matter the role, they would fall into somebody who.
But-
if we're looking at entertainment and actors
Right.
for Black history,
Right.
you would inevitably have to get to them, right? Because they essentially set the trend for winning the best award.
But when a person like Denzel anoints a Chadwick Boseman,
Oh yeah.
what does that mean?
I mean, it just means he got anointed by the GOAT.
Right. So I would, I think that that
Means
elevates
more.
your,
Yeah, it means more.
yeah. But I guess I see your point though, right? It doesn't necessarily make you a part of history, but where I was going with that is that like, inevitably with time, we as a people mentally transition to newer things, i.e. is Michael Jordan the GOAT? Well, somebody's going to say Bill Russell.
Right.
But those people, there was a group, an era that transitioned to Jordan.
Exactly.
There's a group that transitioned to Kobe.
Facts.
There's a group that is now saying hands down it's LeBron. So that's what kind of got me to thinking about this Black history thing. Like, where are we now with Black history? Tamika Mallory came up.
Right.
I know that we had talked about
So
that.
I wonder with those names, right? Because again, right, we had the civil rights movement, and those figures rose to prominence. Whether whatever side you stood on, everyone was trying to push the agenda forward, right?
Right.
So
has that? So not to put words in your mouth. Has the lack of those names been because there haven't been the polarizing movements? I mean, we have Black Lives Matter now.
yeah, I think so. Whoever the young lady who's essentially the founder of that would probably Alicia Garza.
Right.
Yeah, she would have to be in the conversation for sure, right? Because
Right.
Black Lives Matter, polarizing or whatever it is, it
Right.
was a big and is a big social
currently,
movement
right.
for our generation, right? So they would fall into the civil rights movement, the Black Panther Party style movement, whatever you want to call again, right? However you want to identify them, but they're there. They made a stain.
Right.
But I think in that essence too, in that point, I think a lot of those individuals that make a stamp on,
You just gonna change my stain to stamp? My bad. We can't argue the whole episode. My bad. I'm sorry.
about to switch
I'm sorry.
sides.
I'm sorry. My bad. The voice. My bad.
But no, like just to those individuals that made that stamp in history, I think a lot of times a lot of those people go unnoticed in the sense that to the young lady who started the Black Lives Matter movement, right? She's not really out there, so to speak, right? Unless you sitting in a circle like this and you asking somebody who probably knows in depth who she is and what she did and how she started it, right?
Which is very interesting considering this is the era of social media and people are so prominently displayed, whether they want to be or not.
Yeah, and
right?
I think she's ran that because from my visuals, like I haven't seen too much of her on the social media platforms, right?
And that's probably by design.
Yeah, and
It's probably very much by design because you don't want to. It's not about the individual; it's about the movement, right?
You become a target.
Yeah,
and
you would
then
hope
you're-
so,
Yeah,
right?
you're pushing
Right.
an agenda, not self-identification.
And then you open yourself up to people looking to attack you,
Yes.
to discredit the movement. Whereas, let's keep it focused on what it needs to be focused on.
Because when I think of BLM, I think of Tamika Mallory, as we said, and then the dude who used to wear the vest all the time, the black dude. I
Still wearing vest?
From Baltimore.
I don't know his name, but I know
who you're talking about.
He always got a vest on.
Yeah.
So those two figures, right? In my mind is who I think of when I think of that movement right now.
So also something that I find interesting too, and we lightly touched on it, and I'm gonna point this in your direction, right? Is when we talk about historical figures, women do come up, but not maybe at the degree that they should. Why? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but one, do you agree with that? Do you think that happens? And if you do, why do you think that happens? That they're not as again, they just don't jump out at the top of the list normally.
I mean, I guess I think it depends on what you're talking about.
Right.
Popular culture, you're talking about sports, you're not talking about women's tennis or women's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So
But we should.
But you should.
Because like those women went through a bubble and completed their season just the same, and it wasn't as.
But for the same reason why their ticket sales are not the same as men's basketball. I mean, I think those conversations go hand in hand. But without it, we don't talk about Serena Williams and Gabby Douglas. They're both phenomenal athletes,
right. Dominating, right?
Right, but we don't talk about that because that is
Simone Biles.
Less than popular culture.
Yeah,
we talk about it when it's hot and we're going through Winter Olympics time, or
that one stretch, right?
Men's basketball is not on. Okay, it's track season, or because that's the only option.
Right.
But why we're not promoting our women in larger spaces, I don't know. When we know that females tend to dominate in more leadership roles and positions, I just think it has, if I can say, incomparable to our African American male counterparts, we tend to, but
no
I think
shade here. We good. Yikes! Nah, it's just three guys you're talking to. No big deal.
It's totally fine.
No
I can hold my own. But I think it has everything to do with just the way that society plays out on the idea, right? What our role is, or what's easier to digest or for general consumption.
Right. Just I guess a bit of housekeeping as far as like, just again, when I learn something or when we learn something, we want to make sure that we pass that on. So you enlighten me to, when did Black History Month actually start? How did it start?
So Carter G. Woodson, he is a African American historian, started African American History Week. In 1926.
Right.
So it originally started as a week, and then I want to say President Gerald Ford in either
1976.
76.
Yeah, 76.
Actually made it an official
month.
Right. 50 years. That's crazy.
And so we recognize it federally, every year.
Right.
We get our 28 days, to promote and to support the culture.
The shade of it all.
Right.
29 on leap year.
But Mr. Woodson thought, he is Ivy League educated, by the way. He thought it was best for African Americans to know about their culture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I think it's a fantastic thing. And I think as we move forward in ideas about, what does Black history mean to us, and how we would continue the legacy, Lee, you were talking about earlier, and how you were educated with it. Like, how will we continue to pass this information on to continued generations?
Well, so let's play a little bit of devil's advocate, right? Black History Month. When I was a child, obviously Black History Month was a seemingly big deal, right? Because it was promoted. There were programs evolving around it. It was a thing, right?
For sure.
It was something to look forward to, and then as the month progressed, it was something that you remembered because there was something that happened, right? As an adult,
it's lackluster for sure.
Well, is it well, lackluster would mean that there's even some remote.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd have to ask, do you celebrate? Do you participate? Is there
Definitely celebrate it.
Okay. How so? So are there programs? Are there things going on?
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. I think in any city that you live in, whether it's Baltimore City, Prince George's County, and Arundel County, you can go to your county website and find out information. There are always events going on. But I think for my home and my house, we usually are doing something like every week to celebrate the month. I actually own 28 pieces of clothing to celebrate our Kente African attire. So I'm going into work.
Let's give it up for her.
Let's give it up for Nacie dressing like the Congress.
Nah, I'm not going.
Nacie Pelosi.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm just letting them know. I'm just letting them know.
Hey. All jokes aside, but not really. We haven't seen the Kente cloth come out since.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they were down. They were
Shout out to Nacie Pelosi.
They were so down at one point.
Literally and figuratively, they were down.
So no, okay, that's dope. Does anybody else?
I don't. Yeah, I think I allowed school to dictate that for me. And yeah, it kind of, I don't want to say it ended, but yeah, ultimately it ended with that, right? There were moments where I, peeked in to see what was going on.
Until the baby come home with a white man.
Yeah, then I mean, hey, we're about love.
That's another conversation.
We are about love.
Episode 10.
Yikes! This just got that veered off to the right. Yes. Do you think though? I think it's interesting that you said you have these rituals at home or this practice at home, right? Because you also said that your parents did that with you, right? Mm-hmm. So at the time, I even said I was like, oh, that's kind of heavy, but those are now traditions that you've carried on and you're instilling in your children. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of dope.
How do you tell a 10-year-old, like, how do you explain to them about slavery?
Right.
Like, that's uncomfortable. That's like the sex talk. Like, there's no easy way to say, back in so-and-so time, well, technically not so-and-so time because we're still experiencing it now, but people that didn't look like us used to hate us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And this is the way we used to live. I don't understand. I don't know
so
how to do that.
I'll tell you, I guess like most parents, you think to protect first, right? And the one thing that I'm looking to protect is I don't want them to have subservient mentalities. Yeah. And I definitely don't want to feel as though I'm contributing to a subservient mentality. So not that I won't discuss slavery if it's brought up, but I don't know that I'm going to present it as something I need to teach them. Because I guess I just don't, and pardon my potential ignorance on it, but I don't see the point. If I tell you you're a king and I continuously instill that in you, I think you'll operate as such. Why do I need to tell you that you potentially started off as less than?
I received that.
You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that's just my quick thought on it.
I understand that point too, but I think also to that essence though, you still gotta let them know what they're gonna meet when they're out in the world though, because what they receive at home is not what they're gonna receive in the world. They can feel like a king and a queen here, but what happens when you're a child that you've been calling a queen or a king for the last 15 to 20 years, go off to college and hey dad, this guy called me a N-word or whatever the case is, right?
Right.
Or call me less than this, right? And like, dad, but you call me a king, you call me a queen.
You know what they do? Small things to a giant.
Okay. But you still got to teach them. That's still going to be a conversation at the end of the day, regardless of how you taught them and how they react to it.
Yeah.
It's still a conversation to be had, regardless of how you have it or when you have it.
A little cliche, a little corny, depending upon, but I mean, there's some substance to it. It's not what they call you; it's what you answer to. And so but I do get your point. It's a rough world out there. I guess you just have to, and everybody's going to be different. Like we talk about this as parents, not to go down this rabbit hole, but how do you instill the lessons that made you who you are, right? Through experience and those type of situations. I don't wish that on them. I hope that they never go through that. Right. So void of creating that, how do you instill the lesson that came from it?
With everything comes evolution, though. You have to adapt with everything, though, right? Because just like how we stated earlier, what Black history looked like when we were in school, right? Obviously, we're not in school now. Obviously, we're not in elementary, middle school, so we don't get those history lessons. We don't know what level, how deep they go into slavery or the historical figures in the Black history community, right? But at the same token, I guess taking what's going on now, the gravity of the situations and what's going on and what they're seeing on TV, what they're seeing on social media that's running the world right now, you have to figure out a unique way. And everybody knows their house, everybody knows their children, knows what they react to and what helps them, right? So you have to figure out a way that makes them understand and comprehend what the gravity, if it's not the totality of it, an essence of it, that they understand that, oh, okay, I know how to deal with this now. Because at the end of the day, it has to be a level of understanding, because like you said, you don't want them going out there blind, thinking that they live in this glass house, right? That they can see everything. Oh, they see the sun shining, they see this and then third, but if the rocks are being thrown at them and the glass breaks, but Daddy, I thought this was impenetrable. I thought I was a king. I thought I was a queen. Like, I think in everything, it comes evolution and an adaptation to what's going on. Because like you said, like,
well, you're basically, you're shaped by your experiences.
Exactly.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah, you're definitely shaped by your experiences. So, with that being said, like you said, the current climate right now is definitely causing us to all reevaluate.
Stay prayed up,
man. Where we are and where we stand and where we're going. But like anything else, tomorrow is a brighter day, right? So no need to, dwell, right? It's always looking forward to the next thing. Anybody have any like closing thoughts? I
guess in closing, right, I just want to ask the viewers, the listeners, right, what does Black history look like to you? What is the future of Black history? Right? How has it changed, right? Is it tech? Is it, who are our activists? Who are our new leaders that we can look towards to be change agents for the future generations? So let's ask yourself.
Right. Absolutely. Let's get a final word from our sponsors.
Follow 3ThePodWay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Chumps.
Gotta love that. Gotta love them, baby.
Let's give it up for him one more time.
Hey. I just want to tell you guys, Sesly boy, you are Black history. Okay? You remember that.
I appreciate that, bro.
That is so sweet.
Nacie, you are Black history.
I see that.
Lil Lee,
Don't talk to me.
I was wondering if you was going to answer it to him or not.
No, don't talk to me.
You are Black history.
Come on. I appreciate it.
And 3ThePodWay.
It's Black history.
Lego.
I'll take that.
One thing for sure.
Two things for certain.
3ThePodWay.